I'm Chris Yannick. Today on CYInterview, we welcome inspirational speaker and the co-founder of Sports One Marketing, David Meltzer. David, thank you so much for joining us today on CYInterview. How are you, sir?
Amazing. I can't think of a better place to be than with you, Chris, and of course, the legend himself, one of my best friends in the world, Rob Gill. What a pleasure it is to share this time with both of you.
Yes.
Well, thank you for that. And also joining us today is CYInterview sponsor, the founder of Epic Financial Strategies LLC, Mr. Rob Gill. Rob, thanks as always for being here today.
Super grateful, Chris. Thank you so much. And sharing the stage with David is never boring, and it's always brand new and exciting.
Well, I'm looking forward to today's segment. So, David, just to begin, it says on your website, your mission in life is to make 1 billion people happy. Why?
Well, first of all, it says over 1 billion, so I don't believe in limiting myself. So in its abundant nature, I believe that I have a capability of empowering others to empower others. And so for me, happiness is derived from 3 things, and it's experiential in its nature. For me, 1, it's teaching people to be abundant, to make a lot of money. I grew up in a scarce world with a single mom and 6 kids. And I realized that my mom teaching me the more I give, the more I receive was missing a key component. I believe the more you give, the more you receive, but you need to receive more to give more to receive more. So making a lot of money, helping a lot of people, and having a lot of fun were 3 things that I learned to do through my journey. And I've learned systematically and pragmatically teach people how to live in abundance, how to live in a unified, abundant, infinite system of thought that has more than enough of everything for everyone. And so I set off on a mission to create that abundance, to empower others like you, Chris, like Rob, to empower others, so exponentially we can change the collective consciousness. And it, humbly, I believe I can change the world by empowering over 1 billion people to make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun with their lives.
Rob, how did you meet David? What's the story?
So imagine being able to sit next to that and hear that over and over again, because the one distinction that stood out is over 1 billion people, not up to 1 billion. And I started to learn, I've never seen anyone compound energy or compound anything besides money than David himself, including the way he just broke that down. But I was lucky enough to be a fan first. I was able to watch him on social media, and he has a team behind him. And on TikTok, one of the team members private messaged me, which I thought was like, I didn't even believe it at first, but they were like, "Hey, David wants to. Do you want to do an interview with David Meltzer?" And what he does so magically is he'll go on for free and do 15-minute interviews on Instagram and TikTok and everywhere else. And I was like, yeah. So we did an interview, and I was so excited. He happened to be in New York 2 or 3 weeks after that. So I was like, "Hey, can you come on my podcast?" He goes, "As long as you can do it at like 7 in the morning." And typically I do them at 1 or 2 in the afternoon. I was like, "Yeah, I do it all the time in that time," because you got to be able to say yes, right? The power of yes. And he came in, and I think that day we became friends. I think our souls knew each other for the last 1,000 years, though.
So what do you think of Rob, David?
Well, first of all, I have to agree with Rob. I utilize 3 things when I surround myself with the right people and the right ideas. And it's my intuition, my intelligence, and my inspiration. And on all 3 levels, Rob was at my frequency. And I had to teach him what that meant. And I still think I have to teach him what it means sometimes. But my frequency, my neighborhood. And when someone has a similar intelligence, intuition, and inspiration that I have, that has a feeding nature to them, I want them to be more relative to me. And Rob Gill is a feeder. He feeds people. He doesn't bleed them. And I had previous in my life lost over $100 million by surrounding myself with the wrong people and the wrong ideas. And Rob Gill had the right people, the right ideas around him, and the right frequency. And sure enough, from day one, when I drove out early in the morning to sit on Rob's show, I knew that he was part of my neighborhood, that he was part of my community of people that are here to help one another and know people that could help one another, which is how I ended up here, Chris, with you on your incredible show.
Rob, thoughts?
Yeah, I think one of the things there's many because it's not like there's one great thing in my opinion about David because I think there's many, right? Including his life's journey, including the highlights of I won't even use the word mistakes, the situations that have catapulted him to where he is today, some of the human decisions. But the thing I admire more than anything else, right, is the action, congruency, intentionality. And what do I mean by that? Is he has a sleep coach. No matter where on earth he is, because he travels all the time, he has a strict schedule that he sticks to. The rituals, his rituals that tap into his subconscious, that tap into not only coming back, I think of The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. I think that his tap into the universe frequency, being attracted to somebody up here, but being careful that down here they're not bringing them down, is so Jordan-like. I'll use that for me. I'm going to use a basketball analogy. I got to pinch myself and remind myself, like, wow, I'm actually on another conference call or another Zoom with Dave Meltzer, who, by the way, I'll be out in Vegas next week, Chris, on Dave's show, which is so exciting. And the fact that his action is louder than the dynamic words that you're hearing right now, and those words are dynamic, but his action, if you get to know him behind the scenes, it's even better. Can't stress that enough.
So, David, tell me why you come to Las Vegas on an ongoing basis, because Rob brought that up.
Yeah, I do a lot. Historically, it's because it was such a great sports town. So I ran the most notable sports agency in the world called Lee Steinberg Sports and Entertainment that made the movie Jerry Maguire about my firm. Warren Moon, Hall of Fame quarterback, and I became partners in a global sports marketing company. And then I formulated a media company after that. All three businesses had synergy and also supplementary value that we could bring to the owners of hotels, to bringing sports teams to those hotels into the city, as well as appearances. Early on, I laugh because they used to pay Troy Aikman, Steve Young, and Warren Moon $10,000 to show up to a club so they sell more tables at the club. And, those clubs and those DJs become famous, my Hall of Famers. So now being friends with Ioki and Seed and those guys, where they now give me a discount for paying when I come with those celebrities and athletes and entertainers. So we have worked on every level. I also am a founding investor in the Blue Wire Studio at the Wynn. I worked with Mr. Wynn. I worked with the Adelsons. I've worked with a variety of Bill Richardson, who obviously, a big hotelier there, hospitality guy, Dana White in the UFC. There's so many different areas now, including the Raiders moving there, the A's who eventually be there. Also still working on getting an NBA team. We'll be there for next week as well for the NBA. There's a variety of different things. Every single thing in Vegas appeals to me, except for it's not my favorite place to raise my children. And I have 4 of them. If I didn't have 4 children, I would be in a penthouse, probably Turnberry, instead of here in Southern California.
Understandable, for sure. So why don't you tell me a little bit about your Sports One marketing company, David?
So Warren Moon and I were partners in Lee Steinberg Sports Entertainment, which was a sports agency. We represented over $2 billion in management. Warren and I saw a huge opportunity to bring those people to the biggest sporting events in the world, to attract the richest people in the world, the most powerful people, billionaires, millionaires, and entrepreneurs, the celebrities, athletes, and entertainers, to raise money for charity. And so this business thrived: the Super Bowl, the Pro Bowl, the Masters, Kentucky Derby, Breeders' Cup, ESPYs, Emmys, Oscars, and Grammys. And then that led, as 2020 occurred, when they closed down all of those events, to the idea of capturing that content and utilizing it with media. So I have TV shows, movies, a podcast that, we've had over 1,600 episodes with the biggest names in the world, from Cameron Diaz to Tillman Fertitta to Dana White. You name it, we've had it. It became a TV show. I have an Apple TV deal to develop shows for entrepreneurs. Martha Stewart and I do that as well. So Vegas is a hub for me with sports, entertainment, and content. There's no better city in America to do all three.
No denying it, and that's why CYInterview is here. Rob, for all the time that you know David, is there any questions you've never asked him or things that you'd like to mention to him?
No, let me just say one thing first. I think, Chris, it would be good for you to get to know David based on what you've established, you and Jay with CYInterview, the fastest growing independent news outlet in Vegas. Chris does have, Dave, just like you do, connective tissue with some people that I think could always be good for what you're building. But with that, I'm lucky enough to have a lot of private conversations with David. So I usually have those questions asked. But what I will say for the listener, that, your current situation, no matter what it is, and I'll let Dave speak on this because he does it so beautifully, good, bad, or optimal or challenging, what would be the rituals, Dave, that you do, not only just to bash through status quo, but as you're elevating into that next phase, to get to that billion people, how do you keep yourself going? How do you create this wild email strategy that you have? How do you create this sleep coach and all the stuff that you're doing where you're tied into the universe and kind of, you're like Neo a little bit, where the matrix is at your fingertips. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, I study time and I have a time coach now as well. So one of the leading professors at Harvard in physics is helping me interpret Max Planck and Einstein and several others to understand how to utilize time for three different things. To be more productive, to add more value, to be more accessible to others, but also access what I want, receive what I want, and also to be more gracious. In other words, to utilize time to find more light, more love, and more lessons in all the activity from the past, present, and future. And so in this pursuit of the understanding of time with the lenses of productivity, accessibility, and gratitude, I have studied the past, the infinite nature of the past, that we can go back as far as we want in a couple of seconds. If we all three right now closed our eyes, we could go back 100 million years and it would only take us a couple of seconds. But the only limitation of the infinite past which we live in is the meaning that we give it. The failures, mistakes, setbacks, the void, shortages, and obstacles, even successes, the historical relevances and defining moments of our past, they actually create limitations for ourselves, for our potential, only by the meaning that we give it. But the greatest thing that I've learned through time is that we give meaning to everything you see. So in my bankruptcy or your challenges that you've had, Rob, I lost over $100 million. When it happened, I learned a very valuable lesson about time and the understanding of outcomes is that human beings are incapable of understanding or knowing outcomes when they occur. And this applies to Michael Singer, the Untethered Soul, as well as Surrender Experiment. So if we acquire the knowledge via time that all the outcomes that are occurring today, that we're incapable of understanding or knowing the outcome, that our sole purpose of an outcome of the past, because all outcomes are in our past, Rob. They start in the present, but they immediately go to the past. Our own pursuit is to find the meaning that best aligns with our future. And so the only limitation then of an infinite future, because the future, like past, is infinite. Close your eyes. We can all go forward 200 million years in a couple seconds as well. That if we understand time and outcomes and the incapable abilities that we have of understanding or knowing outcomes, we then can give the correct meaning to the challenges, setbacks, mistakes, failures, defining moments, historical relevances of those outcomes, and align them with where we want to be or better in the future, knowing the only limitation of the future is our own self-image. We'll never overachieve our own self-image. And you and I are in a constant journey of improving our self-image because we both suffer from worthiness issues that have created and are created by a meaning of the past that we control. And so when we can not only give the correct meaning to the past, but not limit ourselves, our own self-image, we now can get to the crux of what I do, which is daily practices. Daily practice. So what I do is utilize the mathematical equation of coincidence, what I pay attention to today and what I give my intention to. What am I going to do today, say today, think today, feel today, believe today, in the meaning and the trajectory of a future that I think I want or better. So I have 5 simple questions I ask myself every day. Number 1, what is it I want in the trajectory where I want to be or better? Therefore, what meaning do I have to give the past in order to get there? Who can I help and who can help me? How can I get this done with the 24 hours I'm given today? So I give myself non-negotiables like sleep, family, fitness, finance, the study of time. And then how then do I prioritize my day? See, prioritization is the antidote to procrastination and feeling overwhelmed. Prioritization is the fuel that allows us to be productive, accessible, and gracious. We cannot prioritize unless we know what's important to us, and we can't know what's important to us unless we know what we want, who we can help, who can help us, and how to get it done, giving the right meaning and right trajectory of where we think we want to be in humility, thinking what we want to be or better, but by prioritization and reprioritization, know that we're adapting to the humility that we don't know what we don't know. In its context, the 5th step of knowing our what, our who, our how, and our now then allows us to apply our why, not search for something we have. Too many people in the world, including me and you, Rob, when we were younger, we always wanted more. And when there's more than enough of more, and we'll get to more. And so we search for more happiness, more health, more wealth, and more worthiness. We feel unworthy because we're incapable of achieving more. So instead, through the process of knowing the what, the who, the how, and the now, we now apply our why, saying, I am happy, I am healthy, I am wealthy, and I am worthy. What am I doing to interfere with it? And now I'm in the pursuit of raising my awareness to the interference that creating the meaning of the past and the limitations of my self-image. So know your what, your who, your how, and your now. You'll apply your why. You'll be passionate, purposeful, and profitable. You'll make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun. And that's what I'm here to teach people to do, to change the world by empowering people like Rob and Chris and others to empower others to be happy.
Rob, pretty incredible thoughts.
Well, yeah, I have 3 thoughts. Number 1, Chris, I told you, right? I told you. Number 2, Dave, can I get that into a microchip and just put that in my head? Because that's like the Eminem of peak performance mindset coaching right then and there. There it is, freestyle. He was just Eminem freestyling in a way that I've never heard him get that deep, by the way, and I've seen him a lot. And he just brought his, I don't even know if it was his A game, but my version of what I've seen, that was his A game. There's probably even other levels I'm not even aware of. Chris, I'm interested to see what you think, my friend. I can't wait for Jay to hear this interview.
Yeah. David, let me just ask you, speaking about that, you mentioned, of course, the famous 1996 film, Jerry Maguire. Talk about your ties to that movie with Tom Cruise.
Yeah, so Cameron Crowe, who I think wrote one of the most remarkable scripts of all time that has been time tested, probably people utilize still today more of the one-liners from Jerry Maguire.
Sure.
Cameron Crowe followed Lee Steinberg and the firm around for a year and a half to develop that incredible script. What is so impactful about Jerry Maguire is that a lot of people think it's their favorite sports film. Now, my favorite sports films were all done by Angelo Pizzo and David Anspaugh, 2 friends of mine, Rudy and Hoosier. Those are true sports films, inspirational, aspirational sports films. Jerry Maguire, what makes it so interesting is that it's about social impact and a love story. And the greater lesson that I learned by being a part of Lee Steinberg Sports and Entertainment is that sports in Vegas has utilized this perspective, and your friends and mine who run the biggest casinos, run the biggest entertainment and sports in Las Vegas, they know that sports is a backdrop. You see, what the biggest lesson of Jerry Maguire being a love story is it used sports as a backdrop. And what it really honed me into is that I could help more people by using sports as a backdrop to help develop the skills, the knowledge, and the desire that people have to work within that backdrop. And so if you're an accountant or you're a financial planner or a financial consultant like at Epic, which is one of the country's leading financial consultants that I know, that's why I hang out with Rob himself. And that's why my neighborhood and my frequency hangs out with Rob, because he's looking, as I am, to use sports as a backdrop the AAU basketball as a backdrop to help develop people's skills, knowledge, and desire to create abundance of financial legacy, generational wealth that will not only help the community that we have today, but the one in the future for our children and our grandchildren. And notating that Rob, since the day that I met him, was only more interested than interesting about understanding where I was today and how to get me to where I wanted to be or better. And utilizing the same mindset, heart set, and handset in order to effectuate that generational wealth that provides me protection and promotion, not punishment. And so for me to understand sports, Jerry Maguire is probably one of the most relevant films, not because it's a sports film, because it's a love story with a backdrop of sports to help people understand how to utilize, align, synergize their skills, their knowledge, and their desire to what they wanted within the context of that backdrop. Remember this, Chris, your skills and knowledge are your basement. What I help people and what Rob helps people do is determine their delta, their desire. You see, I played college football. I'm well known for being a below average college football player. And yet, it was the closest I've come to my potential. It's the best delta that I occurred. Why? Because my basement, my skills and my knowledge are slow when it comes to playing football, that it took an extreme delta to be a below average college football player. But when I'm in the realm of speaking or interviewing or business consulting, my basement's very high. Ryan Leaf, he could start today and he would never get to my basement in business. I could have spent my entire life playing football. I never could get to Ryan Leaf's basement in football. But my delta from my basement in football is far greater than Leaf's was. That's why he's one of the most disappointing football players of all time, because he didn't utilize his skills and his knowledge and his desire. I'm here to help people. Rob's here to help people. You're here to help people with the delta and the desire, but also identify the skills and knowledge that best creates the most abundance in our life.
Final comment, Rob?
I'll turn it over to you. I'll be with Dave next week. So that's
Rob will be in Las Vegas with David next week, ladies and gentlemen.
I'll be with Dave. You should come see us. I'll be with Dave. Yep.
So for co-founder of Sports One Marketing, David Meltzer, and CYInterview sponsor, the founder of Epic Financial Strategies LLC, Rob Gill. Gentlemen, thanks for being on CYInterview today.
Thank you.
What a pleasure. Thanks for giving us a platform. I do want to offer your whole community, more than happy, I will sign my book. I will send it to you. I'll pay for shipping. I'll pay for the book. Have your community email me directly. I'll send it out, david@dmeltzer.com. I do free Friday trainings. I'm here of service and of value. All you got to do is email me. It's free, david@dmeltzer.com.
Thank you, David, for dropping that. And thanks again for being here today.
Anytime. I look forward to meeting you in person next week.
Thank you for watching today's CYInterview segment from Las Vegas. Please hit the like button and please hit the subscribe button to be updated on all future CYInterview content from Las Vegas and beyond.